you do go away on a holiday, something like that, would you stay in Airbnbs by any chance?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. So again, that's how when I first started, that's exactly what I did. That was the first thing I did. I'd never really used Airbnb before, and straight away that was the first thing I did. I went online, booked my first Airbnb. It was in Aldeburgh. So I went to Aldeburgh, and again, that's a coastal town, and we went there, and I just wanted to know how it worked because I'd never used it. I didn't understand it, and oh my god, this is like probably again, like, it's funny now, but at the time, so my daughter, my second child, she was probably 18 months at the time, and this house was not child friendly in the slightest. Although they said it was child friendly, it wasn't. And it was a beautiful house, really lovely, literally minutes from the beach. But they had like a, say like a Fortnum and Mason basket on the floor, and they balanced this big glass lamp on top of it, which I find really strange. And it would look lovely, it did, but it just wasn't practical. And I spent the whole weekend, watch this, watch that. It made me anxious, like.
It could just drop
because the place was
and you could hurt
somebody.
Kind
of over cluttered, and literally the night before we left, she tripped on the rug. What did she do? Literally, obviously, she tipped it over. Obviously unintentionally, but it smashed. And I was like, oh my god, what am I going to do? And then obviously I notified the owner that that's what has happened and blah blah blah. But obviously she could have cut herself on it, but the owner wasn't. I ended up calling her in the end, and we were speaking about it, and I said, "Oh, like, just let me know how much it is." Because again, I didn't understand the process, and I was like, I'll pay you for it," and I'll never forget. I'm not sure you can afford it, like that, and that got my back up straight away, and I was just like. And I was like, straight away, I didn't say nothing, but I thought, how dare she say that? How does she know what I can and can't afford? And I went straight online to see how much that she'd paid for it and things like that. And she was like, it cost £500, blah, blah, blah. So that's why I went online. I was like, actually, I think it cost you $295. But I didn't say that. But it was just, I was...
Yeah. She probably knew you as an Essex girl.
Exactly, because I think it is what, obviously, I'm East London, I'm from Essex, I live in Essex now. So obviously I do sound a certain way. And that is exactly... what I thought, and it really got my back up. And I thought, because
they are quite posh in Aldeburgh as well.
Southwold. If people don't know, obviously Southwold is the posh part. Aldeburgh is like it's still just as nice, but it's not as like
it's just not quite as nice.
It's a little bit less snobby, I think, and that's why I do like going there. And it's pretty typical to where I am.
They've got that wicked fish and chip shop.
It's the best.
Have you been to that fish and chip shop on the corner?
I'm not particularly a fish and chip person, but it does have the best fish and chip. But so that was my first lesson in how Airbnbs run and things like that. And that was the first thing I was just like, you never talk to guests like that. If they break anything like that, you don't ever just assume like what these guests are. And that was like the first lesson, because it really, to this day, it still irritates me that she just assumed, because obviously the way I speak, that I can't afford a £500 lamp. She'd never met me, she didn't. And I just thought, you don't put things like that in service accommodation units, because obviously that it wouldn't have just been a child. An adult could have quite easily tripped and smashed, and they could have seriously hurt themselves. So that's one lesson with like Airbnbs and things like that. Don't put anything in there that you can't afford to replace. And just don't over clutter them with personal belongings and things like that. So,
I suppose that happens quite a lot when it's somebody's home, if they're renting a room in their home, or if it's a place that they used to live in that they've, moved out of, and they've still got a lot of personal stuff in there, and they don't really realize that it's now no longer their home. It's, it's a business, and, you got to treat it as such. And you're right. I mean, if you have expensive vases and stuff like that, and you have a 2 or 3 night booking, and they knock that vase over, you could be, you could end up being in the red, not making anything.